The sharp voice spread within the enormous main hall, causing the expressions of quite a number of experts to change slightly. They could sense the unusually powerful strength of the owner of this voice. While everyone were surprised, a rushing wind sound suddenly appeared within the large hall. Immediately, the black fog surged over from outside the hall in all directions. Finally, it gathered in the midair of the large hall. The black fog scattered, and a couple of figures appeared. That unique appearance method immediately caused quite a number of people to recognize them. They are actually members of the Hall of Soul? The hearts of quite a number of people pounded upon seeing the status of those who had arrived. They frowned slightly. Everyone on the continent were aware of the strength of the Hall of Soul. If they wanted to snatch the Tian Clasto skill, it would undoubtedly cause the originally chaotic situation to become even more complicated. Xiao Yan's eyes stared at the midair. The cold smile on his face became increasingly dense. A gray-white clothed old man with a dark and cold smile on his shriveled face stood in the air in front of the couple of figures. That appearance was surprisingly that of old ghost Zhai Xing, who had fought with Xiao Yan until both of them were seriously injured. Are his injuries completely healed? Xiao Yan glanced at old ghost Zhai Xing immediately. His eyes paused on the right hand of the latter. However, he could only see an empty sleeve. His brows twitched. It seemed that even though this old demon had managed to keep his life under the Annihilation Fire Lotus, he had also paid quite a great price. This old ghost Zhai Xing, has currently become a single-arm old ghost. Little fairy doctor laughed. There was some gloating feeling within her laughter. Old ghost Zhai Xing overlooked the entire place from the midair. He laughed in a strange manner. Tisk, how lively. It is unexpected that this remains had actually attracted so many people. If we were to wait here and capture souls, we will likely manage to gain quite a lot. Quite a number of people revealed some dislike within their eyes because of this sentence of this old ghost. The Hall of Soul capturing souls from all over the place was no longer some rare thing on the Central Plains. This act was naturally despised by quite a number of people. However, due to the frightening strength of the Hall of Soul, no one dared to oppose them. Why is one of this old ghost's arm gone? The large hall did not lack some experts who had seen old ghost Zhai Xing before. The eyes of these people revealed some uncertainty after seeing an empty sleeve of the latter. Quite a number of experts present were clearly aware of old ghost Zhai Xing's strength. 5-star Do Zun. He could be considered a peak expert even in the entire continent. There are very few people who could cause him to lose an arm. Old ghost Zhai Xing in the midair had also sensed the direction these gazes were looking towards. The dark and cold smile on his face was immediately withdrawn. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he was just about to let out a dark cold cry when his sweeping eyes suddenly stilled. Immediately, a roar that was filled with murderous intent instantly resounded over the entire hall. Xiao Yan, you are actually still alive. The gazes within the large hall suddenly turned when everyone heard the roar of old ghost Zhai Xing. Finally, they paused on the somewhat skinny young man within the hall. Old ghost, even you are still alive. How can I die before you? Xiao Yan merely smiled in the face of old ghost Zhai Xing, whose face had become green in his anger. He spoke in a slow and casual manner. Bastard, today, the old me will definitely take revenge for the humiliation of losing my arm. The eyes of old ghost Zhai Xing instantly turned blood red. His arm being blasted apart by Xiao Yan was a humiliation within his heart that he could not remove. Although his serious injuries were currently completely healed, his broken arm could no longer be regrown. This furious cry of old ghost Zhai Xing had also brought about some sound from the inhaling of a cold breath. Numerous eyes looked towards Xiao Yan with disbelief. This arm of old ghost Zhai Xing was actually broken by him? This little fellow, why would he possess such strength? Feng Qing'er and the rest were also a little stunned. That black-robed old man by the side had a somewhat volatile expression. His eyes contained an additional fear when he looked at Xiao Yan. He clearly understood the strength of this old ghost Zhai Xing. This person was one level higher than him. Since Xiao Yan had the ability to break one of old ghost Zhai Xing's hand, Xiao Yan would definitely possess the ability to turn him into a miserable state. I have underestimated this brat. However, since this old ghost Jiaxing and Xiaoyan had a grudge. The heavens are really helping us. A cold smile flashed across the eyes of the black-robed old man as he softly muttered to himself. Tang Jun, who was beside Xiaoyan, also used a pair of stunned eyes to look at the latter. His heart was quite shaken. This young man was really not as simple as he appeared on the surface. Qi. After his furious cry sounded, old ghost Jiaxing's body shook and transformed into a black smoke, which rushed towards Xiaoyan without caring about the many strange gazes within the large hall. Vast and mighty Do Qi pressure caused a rumbling sound to appear around Xiaoyan's group, forming a large empty circular space in the process. Old ghost Jiaxing, do you not want your other arm? Xiaoyan clenched his hand when he saw that old ghost Jiaxing pouncing over furiously. 3 clusters of heavenly flames immediately appeared in front of him as he coldly cried out. The temperature within the large hall suddenly rose when the heavenly flames appeared. That body of old ghost Jiaxing, which was rushing forward, had also stilled in the midair with a qi sound. He had gradually recovered some of his reasoning under the high temperature. He had already tasted the might of that fire lotus once. Hence, his heart had instinctively felt a rich fear when he saw Xiaoyan summoning the heavenly flames. Moreover, he had a mission that the hall chief had personally gave him to fulfill in this trip of his to the remains. If anything went wrong, he would definitely be severely punished this time around. There are many experts around this brat. Some effort will be needed to finish him off. If I become too exhausted at that time, it is likely that I will not be able to compete with the others. There are quite a number of experts here who even I have to deal with using all my strength. Old ghost Jiaxing's eyes flickered. A moment later, he could only swallow the explosive fury and killing intent that had rose within his heart. His eyes stared ruthlessly at Xiaoyan as he spoke in a dense manner. The old me will come and properly finish you off once the matter of the remains is over. I await you. Xiaoyan smiled coldly. Currently, he had already formally advanced to the Dozun class. The deterrence that this old ghost Jiaxing gave him was already far from what it was before. If the current him was to use some ordinary tactics, he might indeed be unable to finish off old ghost Jiaxing. However, it was also impossible for this old ghost Jiaxing to completely suppress him like back then. Moreover, the Annihilation Fire Lotus at the 9-star Do Zone level could blast away one arm of this old demon. Currently, Xiaoyan's strength had soared to the Dozun class. If he tossed this Fire Lotus, Xiaoyan believed that he would definitely be able to cause this old ghost to be left without even a corpse. The current Xiaoyan had many tactics to deal with this old ghost. Naturally, he need not be overly afraid of him. If it was not because it was currently not a good time, and that there were other enemies around looking at him with ill intent, it was likely that Xiaoyan would launch an attack at this old ghost and completely repay the debt from back then even if this old ghost Jiaxing did not attack. Old ghost Jiaxing stared at Xiaoyan with a dense gaze. He waved his sleeve, turned around and rushed back, after which he summoned the experts from the Hall of Souls and directly landed at the front of the large hall. Although the others were displeased with this overbearing manner of theirs, no one dared say much. Some of those stronger experts and large factions were unwilling to offend these people from the Hall of Soul at this moment. Hence, they could only close an eye and act as though they did not see anything. It is a little troublesome this time around. Unexpectedly, this old ghost has also come. Although losing one arm will affect the strength of that old ghost, things will also be somewhat troublesome. Tian Huazunjia mused. There is no need to be worried. If I can seriously injure this old ghost once, I will naturally be able to do it a second time. Moreover, the situation here is complicated. When the Hall of Soul fights with the other experts in a while, the experts from the Hall of Soul will definitely suffer some losses and injuries. That old ghost might even be entangled until he cannot free himself. Little fairy doctor laughed slightly and said, "Do you have a grudge with those fellows?" Qing Lin softly asked Ziyin. "Yes, that is a great enemy of ours. They will also be your enemy in the future. Do not hold back when you fight later on. Everyone you kill is one less of them. It can make up for your mistake earlier."
Zina patted King Lin's shoulders.
She regarded herself as joining the group earlier than Qing Lin. Therefore, her words also appeared to be that of an older person. This caused Xiaoyan and the others to involuntarily smile at the side. Qinglin was also a little awkward. However, she nodded seriously and said, "Be rest assured. Since they are enemies of young Master Xiao, I will definitely not show any mercy." "Yes, you appear to be aware of the situation." Ziyin nodded her small head in satisfaction. Xiao helplessly glanced at these two girls. His gaze swept over the interior of the large hall before finally pausing on those stone statue puppets around. He softly said, "Do not hurry to do anything when the seal is undone. These things are all hot potato. They would be trouble if they won't obtain them first." Little fairy doctors group nodded slightly. All of them understood that whoever obtained those treasures will immediately become everyone enemies. There were many experts within the large hall. If everyone delivered a palm, it was likely that even old ghost Zhai Xing would immediately vomit blood and be defeated. This Xiao Yin not only possessed quite a strong training talent, but he also possessed a shocking achievement in terms of alchemy skills. Most importantly, he might be young, but he does not possess the haughtiness of the young. His future achievement will definitely be extraordinary. The Burning Flame Valley befriending him should be a correct choice. Tang Zhan nodded his head when he saw that Xiao Yin was not impulsive despite being under the lure of the treasures. The weight of Xiao Yin in his heart was raised significantly. Xiao Yin was naturally unaware that his performance would increase his significance within Tang Zhan's heart. At this moment, his eyes were focused intently on those light clusters suspended in the midair of the large hall. The light around those light clusters were becoming increasingly weak at this moment. The seal is about to disappear. Xiao Yan's expression was grave as he suddenly spoke softly. After this voice of his sounded, those 10 clusters of light suddenly trembled intensely. Immediately, a glaring intense light was erupted. Under this intense light, the scrolls within it turned into numerous rays of light that rushed out from within the light clusters. The entire hall instantly boiled when these scrolls rushed out. At the same time, the stone statue puppets around the stone table had also suddenly opened their eyes, which had been tightly shut for countless number of years. A rich killing intent spread apart at this instant.
Bang!
It was as if a large bomb had been thrown into the originally quiet and tense large hall at this moment. Within an instant, it had caused the interior of the main hall to boil like a pot of oil.
Kiki.
The light cluster disappeared. 10 different colored rays of light surged out from within. Through the light, it was possible for one to vaguely see the scroll objects within it. An ancient aura spread out from within these scrolls. This caused the eyes of quite a number of experts to become bloody red at this moment. Their breathing had also suddenly become heavier. A Tian-class Do skill is about to be born. After the light surged, the large hall remained silent for a short blink of an eye before a sharp cry suddenly resounded over the place. Immediately, one could hear a rumbling sound appearing. Waves after waves of powerful dense Do Qi erupted within the large hall. Numerous figures became like locusts as they transformed into rays of light that rushed towards the light scrolls without due care of their lives. Faced with the blockage of many experts, those 10 rays of light appeared to possess their own intelligence. They were actually able to turn on their own while they flew, dodging those large hands that were rushing over. Grug. Human figures crossed each other from all directions in the midair. The sound of people exchanging blows continued to be emitted from the midair. Soon after, numerous figures fell after spitting out blood. Finally, they smashed heavily onto the large hall. The low and deep muffled sound caused the hearts of quite a number of people to jump. These fellows were all using lethal blows. Do not attack first. Xiao Yan's expression was also unusually grave as he watched this situation that was beyond control. He stopped Ziyin, who was about to move, and spoke in a deep voice. Tang Zhan by the side also nodded slightly. He halted the experts from the Burning Flame Valley and stared intently at the many experts in the midair who were intercepting the rays of light that were shuttling all over the place. He softly said, "Young friend Xiao Yin, are you currently able to see which of the scroll is the Tian-class Do skill?"
No.
These 10 scrolls are all extraordinary items. They can even be said to be the highest class Do skills or Qi method that I have seen during all these years. Someone had clearly did something to these scrolls. It is not easy to catch them with one's hands. Xiao Yin shook his head. From his senses, these 10 ray of lights all contained an extremely powerful, unusual energy. This was something that he had never seen. It was likely that the class of these Do skills or Qi methods were quite high. According to Xiao Yan's guess, it was likely that amongst the Do skill that he had learnt, only the God Seal skill could compare with them. Clearly, the class of these Do skills will definitely not be weaker than the God Seal skill. It is indeed worthy of being the remains left by an elite Do Sheng. Such powerful Do skills and Qi methods are things that even some powerful factions do not possess. However, they have appeared in such large numbers here. Xiao Yan's eyes swept all around the place amidst the chaos. He discovered some of the true experts. The Hall of Souls, Heaven Demon Phoenix Tribe, and some other factions did not immediately act and snatch the scrolls. Clearly, all of them wanted to wait for these people to fight until all of them were injured before acting. Haha, young friend Xiao Yan, we will act individually later on and see if we can obtain a scroll. Since we have come to this ancient remains, we must naturally not leave empty-handed, no? Tang Jin looked at the human figures that continuously spat out blood and fall onto the ground as he laughed. Xiao Yan smiled. The Tian class Do skill did indeed possess a great allure towards him. He would naturally not give up if he had the opportunity to obtain it. Ah! Just as Xiao Yan had nodded, a sharp, miserable scream suddenly sounded within the large hall. The eyes of everyone hurriedly looked over. Their expressions suddenly changed. They could see that those stone statue puppets around the stone chair had actually been completely awakened at this moment. Waves after waves of unusually dense, murderous aura spread out. These puppets began to kill those around them once they awakened. All of these puppets had the strength of the Do Zun class. The aura formed when they attacked together was extremely shocking. Within a short instant, the area within 100 meters from the stone chair was being dyed by the bright red fresh blood. A rich bloody scent spread apart, causing one's heart to be quite shocked. The puppets have been awakened. Xiao Yan knitted his brows tightly when he saw this situation. All of these puppets had the strength of the Do Zun class. Currently, all of them had engaged in a slaughter. They were just like tigers leaping into a herd of goats. Other than some large factions, there were basically no one who could contend against their strength. Usually, they would only exchange 2 to 3 blows before the experts would be forcefully torn apart by these puppets. These are not ordinary puppets. There are still some life force remaining within their eyes. Xiao Yan looked at a puppet nearest to him, which was engaging in a wild slaughter. His eyes suddenly swept towards the latter's eyes. That spot did not possess an empty hole like other puppets. Instead, a kind of extremely wild killing desire was burning there. This is an ancient human puppet. It uses a special method to extract the soul of an expert from his body and seal it within the body of a puppet. In this way, the puppet that is created will not only possess some consciousness, but will even be able to use Do skills. They are far more troublesome to deal with compared to ordinary puppets. Tianhua Zunjia also spoke with a solemn face. Xiao Yan involuntarily inhaled a gentle breath of air when he heard this. This elite Do Sheng really had quite vicious tactics. If one put it this way, would it not mean that he would have to at least kill a dozen over elite Do Zuns in order to create these puppets? The originally chaotic situation within the spacious large hall had become even more chaotic because of the participation of these puppets that were wildly slaughtering everyone. At this moment, those experts, who originally wanted to gain from the effort of others, could no longer simply watch idly by the side. This was because these powerful puppets that only knew how to kill had already included them in the offensive range. I will act first in a while, and see if I can snatch a scroll. All of you should not act. We cannot be greedy. Otherwise, we will only end up inviting fire and burn ourselves. Xiao Yan glanced at the chaotic large hall. Everyone had lost their reasoning amidst the 10 scrolls dancing in the air. Their eyes were red as they continued to give chase. Anyone who approached a scroll first would be surrounded, almost immediately be the people behind. Do Chi spluttered out, and the person who had obtained the scroll did not even have the time to emit a miserable cry before he was directly blasted into a cluster of dripping blood. Understood. Everyone nodded when they heard the low cry of Xiao Yan. If they obtained too many scrolls, they would definitely attract countless number of red eyes. At such a moment, no one would bother about the gap in strength. The allure of the Tian class Do skill was already sufficient to turn them crazy.
Bang!
Everyone's reply had just sounded when over a dozen figures in front were suddenly blasted into a cluster of bloody fog. A gray figure rushed out with lightning-like speed from within the blood fog. A long spear that was dripping with fresh blood pierced explosively towards Xiao Yan's group while being accompanied by an incomparably sharp wind. Be careful. It is a human puppet. Little fairy doctor's expression changed slightly as she looked at the gray figure that had rushed over. Her body flashed, and she appeared in front of Xiao Yan. After which, she directly rushed forward and blocked that human puppet. Vast and mighty Do Qi surged out from her body with a beautiful outline in all directions. During the time that little fairy doctor had blocked this human puppet, Xiao Yan had taken the opportunity to quickly weigh the ladder. Now that he was a short distance away, he was finally able to see that the surface of these puppets appeared to be covered by a layer of grayish-white mysterious cloth. This cloth was flickering with an unusually luster. On top of being soft, it also possessed quite a powerful defensive strength. Even a full-force attack by an elite Do zone would not be able to tear this kind of mysterious cloth. Try and see if you can control these puppets. Tian Huazunjia spoke in a deep voice. Xiao Yan swiftly nodded upon hearing this. While the human puppet was being pestered by little fairy doctor, a spiritual strength swiftly surged out from between Xiao Yan's brows. After which, it entered the puppet's body with lightning-like speed. However, Xiao Yan was not as lucky as the last time. He could sense an incomparably powerful seal located at the spot in the puppet where the seal was planted. This kind of seal was definitely personally left behind by that elite Dosheng. Therefore, it had enabled these human puppets to still carry out the order he had placed meticulously even after countless number of years. I am unable to control them. The seal is too strong. The current me is unable to remove it. Xiao Yan withdrew his spiritual strength and shook his head. He felt a little regretful. If he was able to subdue these human puppets, there would no longer be anyone within this large hall who had the qualification to fight against him. Unfortunately, Tian Huazunjia and the rest were a little disappointed, but they came to an understanding after thinking about it. These human puppets were the last defense of the elite Dosheng. It would be too incredulous if they were so easily controlled. We should also prepare to act. I will be responsible to snatch the scroll. All of you should help me block the other experts. Xiao Yan glanced at little fairy doctor's situation. That human puppet was quite troublesome. It was clearly very difficult to finish it off within a short period of time. Fortunately, little fairy doctor was not in any danger. Hence, Xiao Yan had placed his attention towards the midair once again. At this moment, Fengqing Air, the Ice River Valley, and the other factions were unable to wait any longer. All of them had joined in the snatching of the scrolls. Feng Huazunjia and the rest nodded upon hearing this. The Do Qi within their bodies were circulated rapidly. They were aware that it was not an easy task to successfully obtain the scrolls in this chaotic situation. Xiao Yan's eyes swept over the midair before pausing on a red ray of light. The ray of light already had quite a number of blood traces over it. Based on Xiao Yan's guess, it was likely that over 10 experts had already died because of it. That will be the target, Xiao Yan muttered to himself in his heart. This scroll was completely bright red, and there was a wild and violent aura spreading from it. It was likely that it was related to the fire affinity and was most suitable for Xiao Yan. Moreover, compared with the other scrolls, there were fewer experts after it. The level of difficulty in snatching it would correspondingly be reduced. Xiao Yan's eyes shifted along with the flashing bright red ray of light. A moment later, this ray of light had finally appeared in the area around Xiao Yan's group after being blocked by many experts. Do it! A sharp cry was suddenly emitted from Xiao Yan's mouth when that ray of light entered the area around Xiao Yan's group.
Bang!
Xiao Yan's cry had just sounded when a purple-brown flame immediately surged out from his body. His feet stomped on the ground, and the floor immediately cracked into powder. His body was just like an enormous fire dragon that forcefully charged towards the crowd that was intercepting the bright red scroll in the most brutal fashion. Xiao Yan's sudden intervention had also attracted the notice of many people. Immediately, the expressions of quite a number of people changed slightly. A chilling aura flickered in their eyes. They waved their sleeves. Fierce Doqi pillars ruthlessly rushed towards Xiao while being accompanied by a rushing wind sound. Given the strength of these people, they would usually not dare to attack Xiao. However, at this moment, everyone had become crazy under the allure of the Tian Class Do skill. No one would bother about the other person's status or strength. Hence, they did not hesitate when attacking. Humph! Xiao let out a cold snort as he looked at the dozen over Doqi pillars that had rushed over. He flicked his finger and 5 purple-brown fire pillars hurriedly shot out from the surface of his body, after which it collided heavily with the few pillars and destroyed all of them easily. The remaining fire pillars violently exploded on their bodies amidst the shocked eyes of those few who had attacked. The frightening temperature caused them to turn into a couple of fireballs. Xiao merciless attack caused some of the experts who were preparing to attack to have a change in their expressions. They woke up a little. Immediately, they could only clench their teeth and gradually suppress the attack brewing within their palms. With the help of the temporarily deterrence created from this forcefully attack, the fire dragon that Xiao had transformed into brutally charged directly into the crowd. His body flashed, and he rushed towards the bright red scroll. Xiao action also caused the only elite Dozun present in this circle to have a sunken expression. He had been chasing after this bright red scroll since the beginning. Being the strongest in this group, the chance of him successfully obtaining it was quite high. Currently, this sudden intervention of Xiao had also stirred a dense killing desire within his heart. His eyes flickered as he clenched his hand. An enormous axe appeared in it. Ha! A low and deep cry was being emitted from this expert, whose strength was also around that of a 1-star Dozun. Immediately, deep yellow Do Qi surged out of his body in all directions. The muscles on his body also wiggled strangely at this moment. A terrifying strength gathered with a lightning-like speed. All of you should get lost for this venerable self. This Dozun had a dark and dense expression. His body flashed, and he appeared above Xiao hand. That enormous axe in his hand carried a frightening strength that could cut through the heavens and earth as it tore through the air and viciously hacked towards Xiao head. Get lost? You think you are worthy? The frightening energy that had suddenly covered 100 feet radius around Xiao had naturally attracted his notice. A cold smile appeared on his face. He clenched his fist, and the heavy Xian ruler appeared. Purple-brown flame rushed out within lightning-like speed and transformed into a meandering fire dragon on the ruler's body. Get lost. A sharp cry was emitted from Xiao mouth. That heavy ruler carried a hot and sharp wind as it collided heavily with that 1-star Dozun's mountain opening axe in the fiercest manner. Clang! The ruler and axe collided. An earth-shaking metallic sound immediately exploded. Immediately, a powerful wind ripple swept out from the point of collision. Those experts nearby immediately felt their chest tightened. Their bodies involuntarily flew backwards. Grug. This earth-shaking collision also caused the expression of that 1-star Dozun to change. A mouthful of fresh red blood directly shot out. A shocked expression surged onto their faces. Xiao strength was at the very most comparable to him. Moreover, he specialized in head-on strength collision. Unexpectedly, this strength was actually unable to gain any advantage in Xiao hands. Fresh blood splattered. The aura of that 1-star Dozun instantly became weary. At this moment, he also understood that he had already lost the qualification to compete with Xiao for the scroll. Immediately, he could only clench his teeth unwillingly and pull back. Once he was injured in this chaotic moment, quite a number of people who take advantage and attacked. He had seen quite a number of experts with similar strength, as him being attacked by 100 over people earlier. In the end, these elite Dozuns, who usually stood high above, could only flee miserably. Xiao flipped his hand after his ruler directly forced the 1-star Dozun back. He once again kept this heavy Xian ruler into his storage ring. He clenched his hand slightly and felt a faint numb feeling. His heart involuntarily felt a little surprised at the strength of this 1-star Dozun. He had consumed many natural treasures during these years. Hence, It had resulted in his physical body becoming unusually strong. Although he could not be compared to Ziyin, it was a little difficult to find an expert of the same level who possessed a strength similar to his. Xiao Yan's eyes swiftly turned towards the location of the bright red scroll after having forced back this tiger that had blocked his path. This thing was extremely agile. It still fled in an extremely happy manner despite the combined effort of so many experts. There was not a single person who could touch it even until now. Instead, some people, who were too close to it, ended up being seriously injured by the combined effort of the other experts. Xiao Yan's foot suddenly stomped on the empty air when he saw this scene. He once again turned into a purple-brown fire dragon that rushed towards the scroll. Those people blocking him along the way were directly sent flying by him. Under this brutal act of his, he had already charged into the closest spot to the scroll within the blink of an eye. "Brat, you are seeking death." Those surrounding experts with blood-red eyes immediately emitted a furious cry in Yuzhen when they saw Xiao Yan charge into a 20-feet distance from the bright red scroll. Powerful Do Qi erupted. Immediately, they blasted towards Xiao Yan from all directions. The momentum from the combined attack by nearly 100 experts was extremely spectacular. With such a large-scale Do Qi smashing over, even Xiao Yan's expression ended up changing slightly. However, he did not turn his body immediately. He once again took a step forward. His large hand gently grabbed towards the bright red scroll that was flying around. Do Qi from all over the place arrived in an instant. Just when these attacks were about to land on Xiao Yan's body, the space around the latter fluctuated slightly. Tianhua Zunjia, Ziyin, Qinglin, and the rest swiftly appeared. With their combined effort, a thick energy shield was immediately formed.
Bang bang bang.
An endless amount of Do Qi violently smashed onto the light shield, causing the latter to continuously erupt into waves of ripples. However, it ultimately managed to endure and did not burst apart. Under the combined effort of the few of them, they had forcefully endured the joint attack by many experts. Taking the opportunity of their blocking, Xiao Yan's large hand finally landed on the bright red scroll.
Key.
However, just when Xiao Yan's hand had just touched the scroll emitted a hissing sound and shot some distance forward like a fish before he could clench his hand. It had once again escaped from the area that Xiao Yan controlled. Humph! Xiao Yan's face became cold when he saw this. His hand curled into a claw and violently grabbed at the bright red scroll, which had shot out. With this grab, the space itself rippled. The space around the scroll immediately became depressed. It formed a narrow spatial cage that trapped the scroll within it. "Come over." A cold cry was emitted from Xiao Yan's mouth. The suction force from his palm sword. A frightening strength directly pulled the bright red scroll into the depressed space. After which, the latter could only turn into a bright red light that flashed towards Xiao Yan's palm. Xiao Yan's figure moved. His hand was once again clenched. Half of the bright red scroll had finally landed in his hand. However, he had just used some strength when his expression changed abruptly. This was because a shriveled large hand grabbed tightly on the other side of the scroll. Aren't you a little too naive in thinking of enjoying the treasure alone?" Xiao Yan raised his eyes rapidly when he heard this somewhat familiar cold laughter. He discovered that the one who had interfered was actually the chief of the profound Xian sect, Chen Tiannan. Chen Tiannan revealed a dark and cold smile when he saw Xiao Yan looking over. His fight hand swiftly tightened, and he violently threw a punch towards Xiao Yan's head without any fancy action. Looking at his stance, it was obvious that he was planning on blasting apart Xiao Yan's head with a punch. "You are seeking death." A chilling glint flashed across Xiao Yan's eyes when he saw this ruthless tactic of Chen Tiannan. A golden light immediately appeared in front of him in a ghost-like manner. Chen Tiannan's fist landed heavily on the latter's body while being accompanied by a clear metallic sound. "Puppet." Chen Tiannan's expression changed a little as he looked at the dark golden-colored sky demon puppet that had appeared in front of him. He hurriedly withdrew his punch. However, the sky demon puppet that followed closely behind also violently threw its frightening metallic fist towards his head. "Bastard!" Chen Tiannan had a drastic change in expression when he sensed the frightening strength on the fist of the sky demon puppet. He could only let out a furious curse. Immediately, he unwillingly released the scroll that he had grabbed onto tightly. His body pulled back explosively. Xiao grabbed at the scroll violently after Qin and released it. Purple-brown flames surged out from his palm and firmly pressed onto the struggling scroll. A moment later, that bright red scroll's resistance finally weakened gradually. Xiao heavily sighed in relief when the scroll's symptom had completely disappeared. It was swiftly kept into his storage ring in front of the countless number of red eyes. At the same time, a vast and mighty aura surged out from his body without any restraint. Purple-brown flame lingered around his body. This power caused the blood-red eyes of the surrounding experts to gradually become calm. A moment later, he glanced at Tianhua Zunjia a short distance away. Finally, he could only turn his body around unwillingly and leave. He began to maximize the time left and snatch another scroll. Xiao expression relaxed a little when he saw these ravenous wolves-like fellows withdrawing after being deterred. He might not be afraid of the individual strength of these people. However, if 100 over of them were to charge together, even he would feel somewhat troublesome. Old bastard, since you have already attacked, there is no need for you to return. Xiao expression suddenly became densely cold after having kept the scroll. His eyes turned towards Chen Tiannan, who appeared somewhat miserable under the attack of the sky demon puppet. A killing intent surged within his eyes.